Hello everyone and welcome back to the video. So today I've got a very important discussion video to make, and it's really revolving around a burning question that I've been receiving a lot on stream lately. And that question is, will AoE2 die now that AoE4 is out and about? This is a really big question and I wanted to make a video to tackle it, and I've given it a lot of thought myself. Now, I want to just say before I hop into the video or the discussion rather, that this is really meant towards the people following the competitive scene of these games, and I'll tell you why. The average player who's playing like single player of AoE2 or AoE4, he's not going to really care what is happening in the competitive scene, because even if, let's say he's playing AoE2, even if AoE4, 5, 6, 7 come out, he's still going to enjoy playing AoE2. It's not going to, like, unless the other games will make him switch over himself, in that case he'll be fine, he'll be happy, or I guess so. He's still going to continue playing AoE2. But where the problem is, or where the danger is for the people who like to follow the competitive scene of AoE2, because now AoE4, if it thrives, and let's say they don't like AoE4, there's potential for AoE2 to lose viewership of tournaments, and then therefore over time the tournaments start to decline in either prize pool or hype or the usual names that we're used to seeing. However, I struggle to see the downfall of AoE2 at this point, and I'll tell you why. For me, AoE2 and AoE4 are different games. You simply can't compare them any more than the franchise name, Age of Empires, and certain elements about the game, like the unit names and the time period in history. Other than that, they're really not like the same game at all. AoE4 is 3D, and it focuses a lot more on strategy aspect. It almost completely took away the classic micro that we have in Age of Empires 2. Age of Empires 2 is 2D, and it's a lot based on micro and the optimizations of little things, and it has a lot more civs available, whereas AoE4 has less civs, but drastically different civilizations. So clearly the two games are pretty different, and as far as playability, AoE4 plays out completely different than AoE2, for good or for worse. I'll give you a couple points for AoE2 and against for AoE2 and for AoE4. AoE4 plays out much faster. You get units out in the field a lot earlier. It's a lot quicker to develop into the game, into the mid game, for example. There's always constant action going on, so there's not really been this kind of stalemate wall meta so far, at least. And then another point for AoE4 is that scouting is crucial, because doing transitions is really important since micro isn't as big a factor, and so it really is important to find advantage elsewhere. You can't just out micro opponent with range units like you could in AoE2. So that's two pros for AoE4. But then the two pros for AoE2 is the balance. AoE2 has been out for so long that the balance is so good right now. AoE2 has 39 civs now. They're all pretty playable on Arabia maps, and then for certain maps in tournaments, you'll see different civs come up. In draft, you see tons of different civs come up. So it's just so versatile. And the kind of games that come out of it are always different and unique because of how much diversity there is and how close the balance is. Another thing, and this is a pro for AoE2, is the micro. Let's be honest, seeing cool micro plays is one of the sickest part of an RTS, because the overall strategy and macro is really nice, but as a spectator, the moments that you remember are the moments that are micro intensive. And unfortunately, I don't see that in AoE4 right now. You'll have big battles in both games, but AoE2 right now has the superior micro. Micro battles in AoE2 are drastically more exciting to watch than the micro battles in AoE4, because in AoE4, there's no dodging arrows, siege is harder to dodge, and a lot of it just comes down to positioning and whether you take a fight or you don't, rather than trying to outplay your opponents, having the disadvantage. Don't get me wrong, there's still micro in AoE4, like running back low HP units, for example. I know you could dodge mangonels, it's just a lot harder. So there is some micro aspect to it. There's also the unit abilities in Age of Empires 4 that we haven't really fully discovered yet. But I just don't see that being on par with the micro that we have in Age of Empires 2, and it's not going to make for as nice as from a spectator point of view to see these cool plays. And then the most important thing I want to talk about right now is the playability and also the kind of support that the game gets. Hear me out. AoE2 has been out for, or the DE, or the Definitive Edition has been out for 2 years, but the game has been out for way longer than that. Over the years, it's gotten a lot of attention, new patches, new civs, new balance, and now it finds itself in a really nice spot where it's very well balanced, and only is missing a few changes like nerfing walls to make the game more open. But other than that, it's very balanced. As far as playability goes, has a perfect rank queue for 1v1s. The team game ladder is not very good, and certain things like the disconnecting, Alt-F4ing was recently addressed. There's like hackers running around here and there, and just like the performance of the game in general. There's no save and restore. The performance is the word I'm looking for. It's kind of lacking in AoE2. And the game's been out for 2 years, and we're yet to see drastic changes there to help make the game enjoyable to play on a day-to-day basis. And why this is important is because tournaments are one thing, but if you don't have the players playing day in, day out and enjoying it, those players will not really be down to watch the game. They're not going to be as into the game as they could be. Obviously, there are people who exclusively watch and are just following the competitive scene, but a lot of those players that watch are also keen to play. I can speak for myself personally. When I see someone playing a game and I have the game, I'm like itching to play instantly. I'm like, oh, I need to get it. I need to hop in and play. I'm down to just get into it. And so, from a performance perspective, AoE2 lacks a lot. And Microsoft, and I say Microsoft, whoever's working on it, just the people that are responsible for fixing these things, they've done good work over the years. They've fixed certain things, but a lot of things remain unfixed. And if it's been out for 2 years, and we only, for example, recently got spec chat, even though that could have came in like years ago. And so the reason I bring this problem up is that we're seeing similar problems in AoE4, but it's not yet a problem because we don't know how fast the fixes will come for AoE4. Like the things in AoE2, like the crashes, the Alt-F4, those would never have been problems if they got addressed instantly. However, they became problems because of how they were neglected, and we had to deal with them day in, day out for months and months. AoE4 currently has some problems. First of all, there's no mods for it. We'll see how long it takes for that to happen. There's no official ranked queue, which I can understand. You don't want ranked anxiety to get the better of people, but at the same time, you can't have a game without a ranked queue. There needs to be some sort of competitive aspect. Any competitive player knows that just grinding the ladder, trying to see how far you can get is just there's a reward. There's something satisfying about that, and trying to get better. And without an official rank ladder, it's so hard to do that. So that's definitely missing. As far as other things that are missing, it's picking maps, going random for civ-wise, hotkeys, global queue. Hotkeys, they have a grid setup right now. They need to make that completely customizable. It's just so hard to play without your proper hotkeys. I don't know how else to put it. There's no global queue. The maps are limited. You can't pick them, as I said earlier. Just so many. I can go on and on, really. There's a lot of things. The balance is a question mark. I can go on and on about AoE4 and certain things that could elevate the game. And it's not a bad thing right now, because obviously the base game they released is very fun. It's enjoyable. I've played it for 50 hours and it's fresh. It's exciting. Figuring out the meta is really nice. But these problems could potentially hurt it long term. So coming back to my original point and kind of giving a conclusion to this video, will AoE2 die? Because of all the points I've mentioned, I personally don't think AoE2 will die because of how drastically different the games are. They both have their pros and they both have their cons. But I personally think that what we're going to see is both games get some attention, hopefully fixes on AoE2, with the walling, hopefully fixes on AoE4. And depending on how quickly these fixes come, AoE4 can start to develop a little bit quicker, or AoE2 can lag behind, or AoE2 can just secure its spot. And if the changes aren't made for AoE4, it's not going to succeed. I don't see this succeeding more than AoE2 if you don't get proper hotkeys, or if you don't get global queue, these basics. If these basics don't come in, like a rank ladder, it's gonna probably go down in popularity as far as the competitive scene goes, rather quickly. And so I think it depends which game kind of takes over, quote unquote, based on how quickly the fixes come or the changes come on either front. But let's assume they both come in. This is how I see it playing out. I think we're gonna have two scenes. Believe it or not, they're going to be coexisting because they're two different games at the end of the day, both great in different aspects and both playable in different aspects, and they play differently. So I think we're going to have two scenes, tournaments interchanging one after the other, AoE2, then AoE4. And as far as players go, I think we're going to have to make a choice. Which one do we commit to fully? And do we try to play the other one on the side? Do you go for a caster on one and a player on the other? I can only give my personal opinion. I'm going to try at first to play both competitively, and if I end up failing, I'm going to stick to one of them as a professional player. AoE2 I've already kind of established, AoE4 I have to kind of prove myself, and then the other one I'll most likely be a caster, just because I feel like I've already got the game knowledge and I'm invested into the game, into both. So that's how I see it playing out. Again, I was kind of all over the place for this video, but I hope I can give a little bit of some ideas, throw some ideas out there as to how I see it playing out. And like I said, I really think that the biggest factor to determine whether the games will coexist or one of them will take over than the other one is how fast the changes come in from the people working on it, from their side. If the changes, and I'm just reiterating now, come in really fast for AoE4 and like the game gets cleaned up really quickly, the game is fun. I love it. It's so much fun to play. If the game gets cleaned up, if the balance ends up being really good, or if it gets tweaked to be like really solid, I can imagine AoE4 is going to be a very successful game and could eventually overtake AoE2. However, I just personally don't see that perfect scenario for AoE4 happening. And I think there's going to be like some changes, but like some things will not get fixed. And I think AoE2 might bring some changes, like if they just fix like the wall meta, because that's the only thing making it really stale at the moment. Open up the game a little bit for AoE2 and make it more exciting. All of a sudden, AoE2 is looking very, very competitive and very fun to play because we know how good the balance is there. So again, kind of rambled on a long time, but hopefully that gives my thoughts on it and can at least shed some light on the situation from my point of view. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. There's no right or wrong with this. Just let me know your thoughts and let me know what you guys think and experience. And like I said, for me personally, I promise you I'm going to try and stick to both. One way or another, I'm going to be involved in both communities, and I'm actually excited for that because as a streamer, I love to love what I do constantly, because it can get boring if you start, going into every stream thinking like, okay, let's just get through the day. I need to have something exciting going on, and having two competitive scenes running, the excitement will be through the roof. There's always going to be something happening on one scene or the other, and I'm personally super excited about that prospect, and I'm really excited what the future holds. Thanks for watching, everyone, and hope you guys have a lovely rest of your day. Peace.